Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to RobMotive. You know, there's been a lot of interest lately in pricing on the new Toyota Tacoma. I put out a video recently, I'll link it down below. It shows what the pricing is going to be for this new Tacoma. Now, I got it directly from someone who knows, twice removed, somebody who works for Toyota, so I'm pretty confident in the pricing on this. Everything else that I've gotten from this individual has been spot on, so I think it is where it is. Now, there is a price increase, of course. We all knew that was coming, but it's not been that significant. I haven't found it to be anything that would stop me from buying the new Tacoma. It's anywhere between 900 bucks and 2,800 bucks or so, depending on, of course, the trim level and all that stuff. Now, add options and all that other stuff, well, obviously you're going to pay more money. Now, the problem, though, lies at the dealerships, and that's where I think we're going to see a problem. In other words, they're going to get these new trucks, and they're going to add these aftermarket price adjustments to them. I think it's going to be anywhere, depending on your dealership and their volume, because volume is what's going to determine this, I think, which we'll get into in a minute. But I think anywhere between $5,000 as high as $15,000 or $20,000 in the beginning, depending on what trim level you go with. Obviously, if you're going with something more scarce, like the Trail Hunter or the Pro, or maybe even the TRD Sport and off-road models, it's going to be more money. The lower trim levels, I expect around $5,000 or so. The SR, the SR5. We shall see. It's going to be very interesting. Now, I mentioned it depends on volume. Well, there's two parts to that, actually. Volume as far as how many trucks your dealership gets. I mean, obviously, if they're getting in a ton of Tacomas, they can sell more and make more money that way. But if it's a lower volume dealership, then they're not going to get as many. They're going to try to make that money on what they do get. The other thing when it comes to volume is, what is Toyota actually going to produce? You know, we're not going to have the hybrid iForce Max version until sometime, maybe summer. I'm guessing between midsummer and even maybe pushing fall in volume next year. So they're going to be very scarce. That means we're going to see a lot of markups and stuff on them. Now, there may be one way to avoid that, and that is ordering your own, assuming you can order your own. You know, a while back, I bought, I think it was a 2022, might have been a 21 Tacoma, right when volume had started to drop, and dealerships were adding markups to everything they had. Well, I ordered mine, and in doing that, I got it at MSRP. Remember when MSRP was a bad deal? Who goes to a dealership and pays sticker? Well, now it seems like you're lucky if you can do that. I mean, you might get a couple $100 off or something if, you know, the dealership's really thirsty, really hungry to sell. But generally, you're going to pay MSRP or even more, depending upon where you're at. Now, getting back to this new pricing, you know, nobody likes to pay more money. But I have to say, it's less than I thought it was going to be. I figured we'd see about $3,000 or so across the board. One, because it's a redesign, and two, because they are so scarce. And Toyota still holds the #1 spot. So they have an argument to say, hey, if you want the best, you're going to pay for the best. I don't agree with it, but, you know, it's out there, right? So to see these prices coming in, you know, a little bit less than that, albeit only a couple $100 at the top mark, which is the off-road version, by the way, is not so bad. It's not so hard to swallow. And I'm hoping that down the road, once supply actually starts to pick up, which hopefully it will. There's a rumor going on about that, which we'll get to in a second. But I'm hoping that once supply picks up and there's more trucks sitting on lots, if that ever happens, that we'll actually see dealerships more willing to deal on these trucks, or at least sell close to MSRP. And by close, I mean a little bit lower. not over. Now, this rumor that I've been hearing, and it seems to be gaining some traction. I don't know if it's true, but the rumor is that Toyota is no longer interested in selling tons of trucks to the dealerships so that they can sit on the lots. In other words, filling up the shelves, parking spaces at the dealerships and having such a big volume for customers to come in and choose from. Remember the days when you used to go to the dealership and you would do the old lot walk? A lot of times the salesman would even go with you. You walk down the lot and you pick out what you want. They would tell you what options are on this truck, what trim level it is, and then you would pick out what you want. You could even select color in a lot of cases because they had such a huge quantity of trucks on the lot. Well, the rumor is that that's not what Toyota's interested in anymore, that they want to sell on allocation. In other words, they come up with a list of trucks, they tell the dealerships what they're going to be sending at some point, and then you, the buyer, can pick from that group of trucks that are coming in. I mean, it's a perfect scenario for the manufacturer, not so much for the dealership, but for the manufacturer, well, maybe a little bit for the dealership, and that it's kind of a just-in-time way to operate, right? Just-in-time is a philosophy that came out years ago, and it's pretty self-explanatory, right? They want to get things in just in time for when they're needed. They want to get trucks in just in time for the buyer to buy them and not have them sitting on the lots. It's good for the manufacturer in that they can sell everything they produce. They kind of get an idea of what they need and then only build to those levels. For the dealership, they don't have to finance the cost of all that inventory and pay taxes on it while it's sitting on the lot. So there is kind of a win-win for the dealerships and the manufacturers. Of course, the big loser in that case is you and I, because we don't have inventory to choose from. And if we wanted Tacoma, we're going to kind of have to take what they offer, right? We can't go there and be picky and pick out the options and even colors and things that we want. And that's kind of a drag. I'm hoping that is just rumor, that that's not the way that Toyota is kind of focusing or going to go now. We shall see. And I will say that over the last few years, with the big sickness in there, of course, it does seem like they're going that way. Like they're really only producing allocated trucks and only delivering those which are already spoken for to the dealerships. I experienced that myself recently. And the bad part about it is people are accepting it. They're paying more for these trucks and they're grabbing up what Toyota is giving them, what Toyota is offering. It doesn't bode well for those of us that like to dicker and deal and pick out exactly what we want. I suppose if you want a black, white, silver, or gray truck, you're probably going to do fine because that's what Toyota is producing the most of, it seems. Anyway, leave a comment. Let me know. What do you think of this pricing? Again, the link to the video running through all the pricing will be down below. I'm not overly surprised. If anything, I'm a little relieved to see that they didn't go crazy. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there.